Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, USA Global TV watchers and listeners. To those of you that has not joined us before, and this is your very first show, my name is Mariska du Preez, and you are on our Talking Heads show today. For those of you returning, hello and welcome back. We are very, very happy to have you here, and we are continuing with our psychological safety series. So if you haven't had the opportunity to watch any of our other shows on psychological safety, there is 3 before this one. So we started off with our initial one, which was around our invitation for psychological safety and getting inclusion safety. So that was our very first one. Then from there, we worked into learner safety, which was the second one, and seeing how to invite learner safety onto our teams and in the areas where we work. And then last time round, we looked at contributor safety. So contributor safety, we also discovered how we are able to invite that in order to help our team contribute to the space that, well, we might have employed them in, or a new project that they might be a part of. And today, yes, today we are looking at challenger safety. So with challenger safety, we need to make sure first off to have the other 3 in place. Because challenger safety is really around being able to challenge each other within our team. And if we don't have those first 3 steps of psychological safety sorted out within our team, there's absolutely no way that challenger safety will take place whatsoever, because, well, we will not feel safe. Now, there is another person called Patrick Lincioni, and he also came up with the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And with that, it looks at building trust and then having conflict. And challenger safety is really around this conflict piece, because challenger safety is being able to challenge each other, to challenge the status quo, to ask those, well, sometimes difficult questions, or just to go, hey, are you sure this is the best way of doing this? So that is all around challenger safety. Now, what are the things around innovation when we think about innovation? First, we typically have a question. We have something that we're wondering about, or something maybe that we want to change or want to look at. So there's some form of question coming up for us. So we want to first be able to at least ask the question. Then next, after we're asking the question, we want to collect some data, right? We want to know, okay, well, if I'm going to be developing this program or a specific thing, what's already in the market? What is out there? What has been done before? What hasn't been done before? So really connecting those dots and seeing what data is out there for us. Then we also want to recognize any patterns. So see what surprises we can come up with, what is new, or what other patterns it is that we find within the system. And then we want to, well, reach some form of conclusion. We want to know, okay, well, I have these 4 different things, and this is what I want to be doing with them. And maybe I have 3 or 4 options. And then last but not least, we want to have a decision. So we get from our question all the way through to a decision. Now, that's typically whether you work in a team or whether you work as an individual, it works that way for the most part all the time. So it might be that our question comes up because we're physically working with something and we want to try and figure it out, solve the problem, so to speak. So that might be a very task-orientated thing. And other times it sort of appears by itself. There is an idea that comes up. Maybe you, I don't know, took a really nice shower, had a lovely walk, and you had this idea of creating something, building something, making something, or wondering how you might be able to do it. So all of these different types of situations might bring you to that question. And then, of course, going into, well, where and how can I get the data that I need? Now, when we are on a team, one of the things that we want to make sure of is there's a thing called team bias or group think. So when you think about group think, generally what happens is the group all thinks the same. And this typically happens when we all have more or less similar experiences within this one thing that we are trying to solve. So what we want to be doing, our very, very first thing when it comes to challenger safety, after being able to ask the question, is having a diverse, inclusive team. Now, this is, again, where we have our inclusion safety that will definitely play a big role, because now we have a diverse team, so everybody's thinking a little bit different. They come from different backgrounds. They might have different perspectives on things. So we want to make sure that we include everybody into this team. Otherwise, challenger safety is out. So we want to have all these diverse perspectives. Why? Why do we want that? Well, when we have our question, this is sort of part of your data gathering piece. We have a question and we have only thought about the question from where we stand, from what we can see. The other members of our team might see other things. They might stand and look at it in a different way. And we will only discover what it is that they see and how it is that they look like if we include them into this challenger safety environment and give them an opportunity to challenge. Now, one thing with ideas are a little bit like babies. Now, I don't know, most people, when they have newborn babies or the mom has just gotten her child, of course, that baby is the most beautiful to their mom. Now, everybody else has a tendency to see some other interesting aspects of the child. Maybe the child has a particular nose or a particular mouth or something that may or may not appeal to everybody. For the mother of the child, most beautiful child on the planet. Now, that's the same with ideas. If it is our idea, we have a tendency to view it the same way as the mother viewed the child. It is the most brilliant, perfect idea on the planet. Now, because this happens to us, we need to become even more aware of it. Because when we invite challenger safety into a space, it means that said idea will be pulled apart. It will be dissected. It will really be taken through quite a few paces to make sure that this is a good idea and this is something that we can implement. Now, because we're going to do all of that, we first need to make sure that, yes, I'm okay for this to happen to said idea. Now, for some of us, it is a little bit easier to do than for others. So asking ourselves that question first will be very, very helpful, because then we know whether we can even step into this space or not with this specific idea or the plan that we have. So first off, we want to make sure that we do include a lot of different perspectives, and we can really pull at this idea, put it into different spaces and scenarios so that we can see what works and what doesn't work. We get the data that we need. Then we start to also look at the type of patterns that we get. Now, another element that is around challenger safety that we do really need to take into consideration is being prepared to be wrong. Now, yes, I know, typically we don't want to be wrong, of course. And this has been our wonderful idea that we came up with. So, of course, we don't want the idea to be wrong. And yet, because we have all these other people's perspectives and them looking at what it might be and turn out to be, we may be wrong. We may have overlooked some things or overinflated some parts of it. So we need to be prepared to be wrong and be okay with that. Because as a leader, our function is not to be right. I'm going to repeat that very slowly. If you are the leader in your team, your function is not to be right. Your function is to help your team and help your team come up with the best solutions. So this is different, and I know it is really, really tricky, especially initially when we step out from being an expert into leadership. It's really hard. And even for some leaders moving up in their leadership career, they have to continuously relearn this lesson. It can be really difficult. We want to be right as human beings. We want to be the person that everybody goes to get the advice that they need for whatever the problem is, to get it solved. It is human nature, and it works when you are an expert. It does not work when you are a leader, because that's not your function. So that is definitely something we need to relearn. And when we think about psychological safety, especially this piece around challenger safety, it is extremely important to remember that that is not our function to be right. It is to help our team. And how do we help our team? Well, we open the door for them to be able to challenge each other and to challenge us. Now, remember that our team always take their cues from us. If they have good behavior and if they have bad behavior, typically the leader is the one that first exhibits said behavior. You are always on stage as the leader. So remember that your team is looking to you to see, if I'm going to challenge, what will happen? Will I get a harsh comment, or might my leader say, well, tell me more. What is it that you see? How is it that it works for you? Because I want to understand in order for us to get the best solution. Not that my solution is the only one. So understanding how we approach our team and being able to be wrong will definitely stand you in good stead. So remember that that is a piece, a very, very crucial piece that you need to work on continuously. So it's not only in your larger leadership and communication, it's also within this piece around psychological safety. And within our environments, I know that typically we currently have the highest engagement yet, as researched by Gallup, of a whopping 23%. Now, I don't know about you guys. Yes, it might have been trending up. 23% is really not a lot of people that's being engaged in the workplace. So helping ourselves and our teams to be able to have more challenges safety and to feel more psychologically safe in order to bring more of ourselves into the workplace, that will help you to also get greater engagement, because people would want to contribute. They would want to be able to figure out how to get the best solution and how all of this works. Now, another thing to take into consideration while you are having this very lively, great discussion is to take into consideration the different ways people work. Now, everybody do not always think about things in the same way or react and challenge in the same way. We don't. We are all different creatures. So we have a tendency to operate a little bit differently. So understanding your team and understanding what works best for the team and how to best help them challenge each other in a healthy way is also part of your function as a leader. Now, these are the things that you can really get your teeth into, so to speak. So understanding your team and understanding what works for your team and how they work together will be very helpful when it comes to challenger safety. And then we have our very, very last one, and it is around our formally assigning dissent at the beginning. So making sure that there is, as I mentioned, we are going to have those occasions where people do not necessarily want to engage as well. I know that you guys might have heard of this term called quiet quitting. So they're not really engaged, right? They nod their heads, they say yes, and then they stand back and look at everything and leave it alone. Of course, we have people that's very vocal about the fact that, nope, I'm not going to participate whatsoever. Those ones are a lot easier to address because they are vocal about it. We can physically address them and take them out of the team because really they don't want to be there. And it makes it nice and easy to get rid of them, to not be part of that team or working on that specific solution. The thing is, when you have a large portion of people quiet quitting, it does make the challenger safety a lot more tricky and doesn't necessarily work as well. So that's another reason why we want to invite the other three safety systems in first, because for challenger safety, we really need to have those more tricky conversations and understand that we are not necessarily attacking the person, we are working with the idea. And also remembering that the idea will be evolving and changing and taking on a new form, and we cannot be as attached to it. So making all of these elements clear before we start the process is helpful for people to understand what it is that we are working with. So it's a little like the experiment they did with a whole bunch of toddlers. They took the toddlers and they put them in a big playground with no fences. And what they found is the toddlers had a tendency to, well, stay around the teacher. Then they decided, well, they're going to change this and they're going to put some fences up and they're going to put the toddlers back into the playground, of course, with their teacher. And this time they roamed everywhere. They stayed within the boundaries, but they went to every single inch of the playground, exploring and finding out what was going on and how it worked. Nobody was stuck with the teacher. And this is what we want to do for our teams. We want to make sure that we put those boundaries up. We know, where is it safe? Where can and can we not go? How would it look like if we maybe got close to those boundaries, so that we know what to look out for? And this will help us not to have dissent. It will also help to have everybody's voice heard, because when we have challenger safety, we really want to make sure that we hear all the voices, all the ideas, and we want to avoid group think. If we propose an idea and the first thing that comes out of everybody's mouth is, "That's a great idea, let's go do it," you should wonder about it. Because it means that in all likelihood, we're getting into a group think sort of scenario and we are not seeing all the angles of what might be put on the table. So it's good to have these challenging conversations. And now you know how to go about creating a space in which you can create some challenger safety for you and your team. Now remember, with all psychological safety, it's always an invitation. As the leader, we are showing it first, and we are continuously inviting it in. And because they will look at us continuously, we also need to make sure that the way that we react, it still invites in that psychological safety. So with those 3 tips, I am sure that you will definitely increase the amount of engagement that you now can create within your team, and that it would be a lot higher than the average 23% all over, and create more challenger safety within your workplace. If you would like to connect with me or find out how to do some of these other leadership things that typically, as a specialist going into leadership, we don't necessarily either know about or have not really practiced a whole lot, do connect with me, and you can do so via my email, which is mariska@journey2discover.com, or alternatively, you can do so via LinkedIn. Write me a direct message and we can start our conversation. Until next week, enjoy creating and inviting some psychological safety into your teams. Bye.
USA Global TV and Radio, in partnership with Dr. Jacqueline LLC, present Amazon #1 best-selling author, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is a certified life, career, and executive coach who teaches people how to listen at an elevated level through her courses and her books. Dr. Kerbeck teaches her clients how to open their hearts and express themselves through their creative genius. In her children's book series, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the listening mentor, Dr. Kerbeck teaches children and their families how to listen at an elevated level. Dr. Kerbeck has worked with clients across the world to guide them in how to express themselves and communicate at a highly effective level. Join our team of elevated listeners so you can listen without judgment, without providing a solution, without interruption, and without stealing the stage. To order your books today, go to drjacqueline.com or Amazon.